Welcome to today's 5-minute professional learning bite presented by CAPITALISE Education. Today we'll be looking at universal design for learning and how it can be applied to the Australian curriculum. Universal design for learning introduces the notion that teachers should plan instructional supports at the beginning of lesson planning instead of modifying materials as an afterthought. UDL involves the proactive application of instructional design concepts, pedagogical knowledge, and instructional technology to create instruction that is accessible and engaging to learners across the spectrum of ability. According to Rose and Mayer, UDL is based on the premise that barriers to learning occur in the interaction with the curriculum. They are not inherent solely in the capacity of the learner. Thus, when education fails, the curriculum, not the learner, should take the responsibility for adaptation. Rather than being a specific pedagogical approach, UDL is a way of thinking about the planning, teaching, and assessment cycle. The underlying principles of UDL provide guidelines for designing and implementing instruction in a flexible manner that meets the needs of diverse learners. I love this quote. No tool is omnicompetent. There is no such thing as a master key that will unlock all doors. Rather than wielding a single tool, generalists have managed to collect and protect an entire toolshed, and they show the power of a range in a hyper-specialized world. In other words, as a teacher, do you have a range of tools in your toolshed? Universal Design for Learning provides teachers with a range of tools to use during the planning, teaching, and assessment cycle. Rather than being a pedagogical approach, Universal Design for Learning is a pedagogical framework or a way of looking at the planning, teaching, and assessment cycle to look at how barriers can be broken down for all students within a classroom. The Universal Design for Learning framework consists of 3 principles. Principle 1 relates to the concept of engagement. Michael Fullen, a Canadian researcher, claims that happy, engaged students in kindergarten often are bored by Year 9. His research found that 2/3 of the children who were happily engaged in kindergarten were bored when they're in Year 9. Michael Fullen also claims that one of the biggest factors that encourages teachers to change their practice from traditional schooling is that it is not engaging. Significant research exists to show that engagement is associated with positive academic outcomes, including achievement and persistence in schools, and it is higher in classrooms with supportive teachers and peers, challenging authentic tasks, opportunities for choice, and sufficient structure. During the planning, teaching, and assessment cycle, the first principle of Universal Design for Learning encourages teachers to ask themselves, am I providing my students with multiple ways of engaging in the learning process? Because not everything works for everyone. The Universal Design for Learning framework from CAST at Harvard University consists of 3 principles, 9 guidelines, and 31 checkpoints. Principle 1, or engagement, is shown in green in the first column. Each one of the columns is divided into 3 rows. The first checkpoints in the first box relating to recruiting interest are ways to help students access the curriculum. The second box, sustaining effort and persistence, those checkpoints are designed to help teachers build on the students' access and engagement with the curriculum. The last box, entitled self-regulation, are checkpoints or ideas how during the planning, teaching, and assessment cycle, teachers can support kids to become internally engaged in their learning. I created a Wordle based on all of the information provided by CAST at Harvard University in relation to Principle 1 of engagement. As you can see, learners are the center of that idea, and there are many different ways to engage students in the learning. Feedback, provide, goals, activities. The larger the word, the more often it's discussed in the CAST website. The second principle of Universal Design for Learning is called representation. During the planning, teaching and assessment cycle, Principle 2 of Universal Design for Learning encourages teachers to ask themselves the following question: am I representing information to my students in multiple ways? In relation to the Australian curriculum, Principle 2 of Universal Design for Learning is relevant to the content descriptors that teachers teach. Every time I read this quote, it makes me think about the second principle of Universal Design for Learning. Maintaining a UDL approach allows me to address the fundamental question faced by all educators. Can everyone in the class access the content I am delivering? This is just as relevant in a higher education environment as it is in an early childhood settings. If we want all our students to learn, we need to mix it up and cater for the whole class. The second principle of Universal Design for Learning is represented by the purple column in the middle. The first box, entitled Perception, gives teachers ways of helping students to access the curriculum. The second box, entitled Language and Symbols, provides teachers with ideas during the planning, teaching and assessment cycle for how students can build on their capacity in relation to the curriculum. The final box, titled Comprehension, provides teachers with ideas about how they can help students internalize the Australian curriculum and their knowledge and understanding. I created a Wordle based on all of the information provided by CAST at Harvard University in relation to Principle 2, and you can see it provides many different ideas how teachers could represent information to students in multiple ways. Fundamental to it is information, gives other ideas like text, symbols, strategies, concepts, digital keys, elements, provide, knowledge, explicit. Principle 3 of Universal Design for Learning is action and expression. During the planning, teaching and assessment cycle, teachers need to ask themselves, am I allowing my students to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding in multiple ways? The achievement standards in the Australian curriculum are the expectations of what each student is to demonstrate at a certain year level. Let's contextualize Principle 3 within achievement standard from the Australian curriculum. In this case, we'll have a look at a Year 3 Science Achievement Standard. The Achievement Standard asks students to describe features common to living things. Teachers need to be able to understand what the cognitive verb is asking the students to do within the Achievement Standard. In this Achievement Standard, the cognitive verb is describe. ACARA defines describe as to give an account of characteristics or features. So, this achievement standard from Year 3 Science is asking students to give an account of the features common to living things. Universal Design for Learning is based on the idea that the learning goal shouldn't be tied to a specific way of demonstrating the learning goal unless it's explicitly named. Because this achievement standard doesn't explicitly name a way of demonstrating the learning goal, it could be demonstrated in many different ways. One way that this achievement standard could be demonstrated is through a traditional paragraph, looking at what is common between spiders and birds. Because the achievement standard does not explicitly state how this learning goal is to be demonstrated, another student might demonstrate this achievement standard using a Venn diagram. For a student on the autism spectrum whose functional impact is they struggle to write, they might be able to build a spider and a bird out of Lego and then talk about what is common between the two animals whilst being filmed. This would be an example of the Principle 3 of Universal Design for Learning, because the achievement standard doesn't state a way that the learning goal needs to be demonstrated. Principle 3 is represented by the blue column. The checkpoints under the heading Physical Action provide teachers with ideas about how they can help students to access ways to demonstrate their learning. The second box, Expression and Communication, provides further ways that students can build on their ability to demonstrate their learning and understanding. The third box, Executive Functioning, provides teachers with ways that they can help students internalize their ability to demonstrate their learning. A Wordle for Principle 3 on the CAST website shows all the different ways that a student could demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. That is our 5-minute professional learning bite for today. At CAPITALISE Education, we believe that teachers working together achieve a lot more than those working alone. As the African proverb goes, if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.